Is Batman the Caped Crusader a worthy successor to Batman the Animated Series, or does it suck the goodwill from fans by having a similar vibe and creators? This is Exasperated Nerd Explains. Batman the Caped Crusader has an excellent pedigree. Bruce Timm from the animated series, Ed Brubaker from Gotham Central and Criminal Comics, Matt Reeves from the latest Batman film, but it also had some early information that made me nervous. A serious Harley Quinn, completely separate from the Joker, and Oswalda Cobblepot, a female version of the Penguin. I watched the entire 10-episode season, and I have some thoughts. And there will be spoilers. Overall, the series is a mixed bag. It has some classic Batman action, some tired storylines, unusual combinations that make for interesting tales, and sometimes it tries to inject new takes on classic characters that, in my mind, don't quite work. The Batman of the series is still very early in his crime-fighting career, year 1.5 maybe. The police still don't seem completely certain he exists at the beginning. He is definitely rough around the edges, not a dominating fighter, and we get to see the detective side as he solves the case with each villain of the week. Notably, he is more closed off than usual, calling Alfred by his last name Pennyworth for a majority of the season. He even screws up big time by being too callous and mission-oriented, arguably leading to a lot of deaths at the conclusion of the season. It's a fairly consistent take with other iterations, it does not take too many liberties, and there is some character growth by the end of the season. Gotham itself is very corrupt, with a mayor in cahoots with a major crime boss. Gordon is commissioner over a very corrupt police department. There's even a line that made me think he was given the role as a diversity hire.
Good headlines, Gordon. Wasn't that the whole point of you in that job? Good press!
Sir.
But maybe I'm looking into it too much. Harvey Dent is DA and running for mayor, who often butts heads with Barbara Gordon, who is a public defender. There are several detectives who fans will recognize: Flass, Bullock, Corrigan, and Montoya. Pretty standard and a similar starting point for a lot of Batman adaptations. Let's talk about Oswalda Cobblepot. So, a female penguin felt really weird. She's also singing burlesque and still has the big pointed nose. My biggest issue here is that it is not even an interesting take. They replace the standard penguin with a trope. Oswalda is an overbearing mother character with weak-willed sons that are afraid of her to the point of betrayal. I mean, they have every right to be, but this has been done before. It's not interesting. The only things penguin about her are the outfit, her ship being called the Iceberg Lounge, and hiding a literal artillery piece in an umbrella on top of her ship. There is nothing to gain from the penguin being a woman here. You might as well have had it be Ma Parker or something. The Harley Quinn that appeared throughout the season was at least an interesting take, though I believe they missed some opportunities there and flubbed the landing. Harleen Quinzel shows up as a psychiatrist early on, even having sessions with Bruce Wayne for anger issues after he punches a guy for a comment about his mother. She's portrayed as kind of a normal, upbeat character in her professional role, and is friends with Barbara Gordon and in Lesbians with Detective Montoya.
Because I'm in Lesbians with you. What?
I'm not terribly surprised, as Ed Brubaker did make Montoya a main character in his Gotham Central comic book, where she came out as a lesbian. The Harley Quinn aspect is both an interesting take, but also baffling. Essentially, as Harley Quinn, she kidnaps her rich patients and tortures them until they have a psychotic break. convinced to give all their money away to charity and then kill themselves. This is revealed in an episode where we get the classic villain King Tut appearing, though only as someone who says he's a pharaoh and is also trying to kill himself. My problem with this is, other than one throwaway line when it shows her kidnap someone,
"You're a real menace to society, Emerson. I've tried to get you to see the humanity in your employees, in your family, but nothing is getting through."
there's no other explanation behind her motive. Also, even if you say it's vaguely anti-elite or whatever, there's no real reason why she dresses up. Again, there's a throwaway line about, oh, the jesters are in charge here, but every other villain we have a very clear understanding of why, and here they don't fill us in. Like, she could torture these people in her normal clothes. And in a world, it is ridiculous to think that all these rich moguls are missing and no one apparently even realizes it, or the fact that this has been going on for more than 3 years, so who knows how many people she's made kill themselves. Also, odd choice to have her dress one of her victims up as a clown while doing this if you're going to forcibly have her separate from the Joker. I think this could have been a slower reveal, and it would have been interesting if she was behind multiple villains over the course of the season. Like, have a full King Tut episode where she convinces him to do something she finds altruistic, like robbing the Museum of Egyptian Artifacts, in a way that sets up their transfer to Egypt as a rightful return, and ends Justify the Means mentality, where she is manufacturing these villains to do what she thinks is good. And it was also a missed opportunity that the other patients she kidnapped weren't Batman villains as far as I could tell. Some of them could relapse in later seasons and have a break from her torture later, becoming those villains. Instead, we just get King, a baby, elf, a clown. Then she falls off a cliff, presumably dead, and calls Montoya, whom she had stood up, to run back to her villainous compound.
Hello?
Hey, Renee, it's me. I'm sorry I couldn't make it.
Where are you? Is everything okay?
I've got to leave town for a while. I'll look you up when I'm back.
And that's the last we hear about that, which, okay, was the in-public Harley Quinn real then? I was assuming it was a mask at that point. The two sides of her don't seem to connect. Like, she's only a psychopath in her professional capacity, and there's no mention of this at all in the final episodes. No sign that Detective Montoya is rattled, has self-doubt, or questions the fact that she started going out with a psychopath. Not even once. Normally you'd have an episode where she's getting her groove back or whatever because she's filled with all these thoughts or wants to catch her for these crimes. Nope. Notably, it was the only real dating relationship in the series, and it feels pointless how quickly it started and stopped. There was potential in this take, even though I wasn't crazy about it. I can see how it could lead to interesting stories. But a part of me also feels like this could have just been Hugo Strange instead. I know I've done a lot of criticizing here, but it's not all bad. Those items stick out the most because they are departures from the classic characters. I did like other episodes, like the police hunting Batman and the push and pull of corrupt cops on the other officers. It led to an interesting episode with Firefly. This episode had the most interesting visuals of the season, I think, and there's always some good tension when he is still somewhat at odds with the police. There was also what I would call somewhat predictable but well executed episodes focused on Clayface and Catwoman. I think both of these were fun. Clayface had a different look in his appearance and was one of the better detective focused stories, while Catwoman looked closer to her original comic book appearance than what modern audiences are used to. It was also interesting to have her directly inspired by Batman to become Catwoman, and bringing back Catwoman's car was a nice over-the-top touch. I don't have a lot of commentary on those episodes, but I think they were solid. The only criticism is that being a fan, I know Carlo is Clayface. There's no reveal there when he is found dead. Like, I know he's not. That's going to happen as a fan of a franchise, especially seeing multiple iterations of stories, and that's just going to happen. There was an episode where Batman fought an actual ghost. I assumed, like Batman, that they were going to reveal that it was all a trick at first and explain how he made it appear real, but no, a real ghost. It was genuinely surprising that they went that direction. Obviously, ghosts and magic are a part of the DC universe, but it did take me off guard, and I appreciate the somewhat unusual storyline for a first season episode. He also investigated a vampire girl of sorts. This episode was odd in that I don't know her as a specific character. She might be, and it's just one I'm not aware of. So to have a whole episode revolve around her was a surprising choice. It had some good moments and established some more side characters from the Batman mythos like Dr. Tompkins and Killer Croc, but was also a vehicle for propelling Dent down a path to potential corruption. The Kevin Smith created villain Onomatopoeia showed up, which was a nice change of pace as well, and gave you a satisfying Batman 66 reference via fight scene.
Pow.
Though treating him as a boss in a realistic manner in animation does not make sense. Some assassins ask him questions and he just makes noises back at them.
Blip, blip, blip. What'd you say, boss? Blip, blip, blip.
Ding, 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 ding.
The season concluded with a multi-episode Two-Face arc, which is a consistent storyline in Batman and something we have seen a lot before. It had its moments that worked based on established character relationships to that point, like between Barbara and Dent, but also I feel like this may have been the place to insert a new take and have it mean something. I feel like fans would give more leeway with a change in a classic storyline compared to completely changing a character. I understand you already kind of messed with two major characters and maybe don't want to change a third too much, but if you're going to take swings, take a swing here narratively. A different outcome would have surprised me. What happened felt inevitable. And listen, it was well done, and if you're new or newer to Batman, I'm sure it would be thoroughly enjoyable as a season conclusion. It is a classic Batman story for a reason, but you also don't get full Two-Face either. He talks a little bit to himself, but never goes full villain before dying. I mean, in the suits and having the scarred, double-headed coin, which also means we won't get any more with the character either. And this was the area I was referencing where Batman really messed up. He takes Dent out in public with the excuse that he wants to get him back into the world, but in reality is pushing him for information to help his case as Batman into the investigation into who threw acid on him. But in doing so, pushed him to have a very public breakdown, leading to his eventual crime spree. Batman treats it very nonchalantly at first, but does seem to realize it eventually after Dent begins killing people. As for the art of the show, overall pretty good. Like I said, obvious similar aesthetics to the animated series, though the first episode in particular had some issues or things that really stood out to me, especially with the use of 3D assets for vehicles and integrating it into the 2D. It definitely improved as the season went on, which is not uncommon for an animated series, but if that's something that really pulls you out of the first episode, keep in mind it does improve. There are other small nitpicks and gripes I could point out. That's not how revolvers work, but I think I've covered the bulk of the season. And my final thoughts. It's okay. It's not groundbreaking, it's not an awful mess. Some episodes are genuinely good, others are just so-so. It tries to be different and new in some places, but then also slides back into the comfort food of classic stories. Some of the decisions make no sense to me at all, and I'm not sure why they made them, but others work out fine. I know that's not a ringing endorsement or scathing criticism, and maybe that's because I was hoping for a bit more. In spite of my concerns, I did have expectations from the series, and if I had gone in completely blind, not even knowing who's involved, maybe I would have liked it more. But what did you think of the series? Are you okay with these character changes? Does it bother you that much? I've seen some very violent reactions. I have some people say, who cares? It's just another incarnation of Batman. They can make weird choices. Let me know in the comments below if you've made it to the end of the video. Please consider supporting the channel by subscribing, liking the video, and sharing it with others. Please check out other content I have released as well. Thanks for watching. Bye.